Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Pattison Ave Phanatics Show. I'm your host, Tom Kelly. No intro music this week. Everybody's at their humble abodes. With me, as always, my main man, James Scorza.
What's happening, Tom?
Joe Marks.
What is up?
And special guest with us, my good friend, my man, Dave Yarnell, also known as Cowboy Dave. You may have heard him call into some of the other radio stations in town. Dave, what's up, brother?
How's everybody doing?
How you doing, man?
Doing good, brother. Doing good. Listen, before we get into your Philadelphia sports talk and sports talk from around wherever, let's get into some of our sponsors, like Fantees. Fantees.com. If you use the promo code EdgeOfPhilly, you get 20% off your order. Obviously, you can see by the picture here, it's just some of the many great T-shirts that are available on Fantees.com, and we hope that if you're on Fantees picking up a T-shirt, that maybe you jump over to the Edge of Philly site and grab yourself a Edge of Philly hat. They come in 4 colors: green and cream, black and white, charcoal and red, and charcoal and orange. With that said, let's get into some of the shows on the network. Obviously, we have Bird's Eye Q with Kyle and Eric Quinn. They're on Sundays at 7. And look out for some draft shows coming up for those guys that might differ from their normal times. The Broad Street Bullies podcast with Drew Doyle and Jeff. Those guys are always bringing the laugh. And anybody who's following the Flyers right now, they need to laugh a little bit because otherwise we're crying at this point. They're on Sunday nights at 8 o'clock. 2 of the best in the business. Great guys. I look up to them a lot. My man Jimmy Chesko and Bill Furman from Philly Press Box Radio. Those guys are on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock. Literally, dynamite guest after dynamite guest every week. They're crushing it. Can't forget The Big Show, the EOP Sports Show with Big Al, Joey Sheeran, and Freddie Burns. They're on Wednesday nights at 9:30. Bringing the laughs, bringing the knowledge, and just bringing a lot of fun to the Philly sports talk. For all you lacrosse heads out there, there is nobody in the business better than my man Kevin and Gary, Lax Philly. They will be having some live shows coming out soon, and as soon as we find out when that's going to be, I'll get that information to you. They have articles coming out all the time. Please check out my guys over at Lax Philly. With that said, every Saturday I try and put together. Hey, there we are. Welcome back. Every Saturday I try and put together. We try and put together a little something for small businesses. When you have a platform, no matter how big or small, you want to try and help out. You want to try and give back in any way possible. And Joey actually has the small business that we're going to spotlight for this week. So, Joey, take it away.
All right. So I want to tell everybody about this great company, Dominic's Appliances. They're located at 1749 West Passyunk Avenue in South Philadelphia. I had my washer clunk out of me about a month ago, and I have a newborn baby. And as any parent knows, if you have a baby in the house, laundry goes up exponentially. So I needed a washer replacement in a hurry. I went there, and Pete Mache, the owner, the proud owner of this establishment, helped me out, hooked me up, got me a new washer, and installed within 3 days. These guys have everything that you would possibly need in the lines of appliances, whether it's washers, dryers, refrigerators, freezers, all of that. Their delivery is excellent. I didn't have to lift a finger. I just had to open the door, and they did all the work. Removal, installation, and all that. They have been around since 1985. So they have been an establishment in South Philly for that long. Please check them out. Even if you need a new appliance or you need to have a replacement because one of your appliances conked out on you, give them a call. Their number that you can reach them at is 215-334-9192. And ask for Pete or ask for any of those associates and tell them the Pattison Ave Phanatics sent you.
Beautiful. I used to deliver to those guys. I ran that FedEx route for several years, and I mean, just down to a man, everybody in that place is great to deal with, from my perspective as well. So check them out, Dominic's Appliance, 1749 West Passyunk Avenue, South Philly. With that said, let's get into some sports talk. First off, I want to say what's up to my man Sean Ward, who's checking in on the text board. What's up, Sean? My man Bobby checking in. He said, "What's up, guys? Hope everyone is well. Keep up the great work, Bobby. Thank you very much. Appreciate you checking in on Facebook. Always love the text board, man. It makes things a lot funner." So, with that said, Joey, you put together some Sixers questions, man. You want to fire out some?
So last night the Sixers played the Pelicans, and I got to be honest. So I DVR'd the because I don't like watching commercials. So I DVR'd the game and watched it, and I felt like I was watching a rec center game. It was going that back and forth that quick. I was like, I wasn't sure if like that was intentional or not. But the Pelicans are for real as far as like a fast break team. The Sixers struggled. Embiid 5 for 16 for only 9 points. Seth Curry 0 for 7 for 0 points. Ben Simmons had the best shooting percentage at 3 for 6 for 10 points and got to the line a couple times. So he's at 50% shooting. And if Ben Simmons is your highest percentage shooter on your team, there's a problem. And I'm a big Ben Simmons fan, but that's a problem.
A huge problem.
Do you think that by that example of the Pelicans game, do you think that this Sixers team right now has enough firepower going forward, meaning shooters, offense?
Yeah, I believe they do. With the addition of George Hill, I mean, he's not an offensive powerhouse, but he brings you stability to an already pretty stable lineup. You're going to have off nights. I actually posed a similar question. I'm glad you brought it up. They weren't going to be able to do anything against Zion Williams last night. He dropped 37, 15 rebounds, a double-double. At 6'7", 284 pounds, get out of that man's way. And that how he plays, and he apparently just kind of watching the game last night, some of the announcers were saying that he was more aggressive last night than he had been a couple days prior. But I believe that – sorry, I jumped on the Zion there. But I believe that the Sixers do have they do have stability, and they do have some good shooters that I think they might have just had an off night last night. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I agree, Tom. I think that's what you said. I mean, the thing about it, too, was just that like Zion is he was a little bit of a headache when I watched him a little bit, but yeah, I mean, it's just that I'm not worried about how they're playing so far. I mean, it's only like towards the the thing about it is just worry about is like if they get like that first seed, they have to be really good, to get that first seed. If they like have to be skeptical about it, So I think if they become that second or third seed, I think we'll be okay. But you always want to look for that, get that first seed and have home court advantage. Like say, for example, they go on a run, right? And they go to the finals, and you want to have those games at home, on games 1 and 2 at home, then like actually being on the road for the first two. Like so, yeah, I'm not necessarily worried about it, but like I said, I didn't watch a lot of the Sixers game once. So I was back and forth with the Phillies game, but I seen like Embiid struggling, but that happens with everybody coming back from an injury, so I'm not worried about it.
How about you, Dave? What do you think?
I'm not too worried about them. I think they'll be okay. It just makes me so mad that Ben goes to the hole and he dishes it out too much. You just got to go to the hole more,
Right.
And it's just he's a better player than that, and we know he can play defense. There's no doubt about that. His defense is phenomenal. But if they go for a run, which they could do, I still think they're going to get that number 1 seed. I really do.
Yeah,
nice.
Back what you said about Ben Simmons. Every time I ask myself, okay, Ben, go to the hoop, and he passes it off. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Marks, looks like Freddie Burns is calling you out a little bit on the text board, saying, Marks, you have to crush Ben on last night. That was ridiculous, passing up those shots at the rim. Joe, can you address what Freddie Burns is saying right now?
Yeah, I can. Because what I've been saying for the past couple months is Ben Simmons just needs to attack the hoop. Now, so he's doing that, but now he's passing it up. Zion, it's interesting. Zion and Ben seem to be very similar players. Very stocky built, athletic, big guys that play the point guard, that are versatile but struggle from shooting at times. but they can both get to the hole whenever they damn well please. The difference is that Zion was finishing, Ben wasn't.
Right.
And I feel like Ben could have put himself in a much better position as a leader on this team and possibly could have won the game, actually, if he wouldn't have passed up those opportunities. And I also want to say, and I've said this on other shows, Ben, if you're going to go to the hole and you're going to hold on to it, don't go on fools. Don't lay up. Don't finger roll. Don't do nothing. You're bigger, you're stronger, and you're better than most of the people, that 90% of the people that are going to try and get in front of you.
Totally agree.
Don't go on fools.
Yeah. You're 6'10" and you run like a gazelle.
Yeah.
And you're built like a brick shit house. There's no reason you can't finish at the rim.
Zion is a big guy. We can all admit that. He's a big guy.
Yep.
He knocked into Ben 2 or 3 times last night, and Ben didn't move, and Zion just was like, whoa, like, okay. And I literally said to myself, I'm like, this is the matchup we're going to see for the next 10 years, and I'm going to enjoy it. This little head-to-head, because they are built very much the same way, and they're very competitive, and they're also superstars. They're starting to hit their apex at the same time, and when that happens, I'm not saying you're going to see like a LeBron, like a Bird Magic kind of thing, but like you're going to see some real big fireworks when it comes down to these two teams and these two players matching up consistently. I think the way they played last night, I was like, if this is a 7-game series in the playoffs and they're running as fast as they were running, and I know the playoffs is more of a half-court game, but if they ran in the playoffs for a 7-game series like that, people would be getting carted off on like stretchers because of how fast they were going with the game.
Right.
Absolutely. So I heard that Dwight Howard after the game the other night was comparing Ben to LeBron. Dave, is that a fair comparison right now? In I mean, with LeBron's resume, obviously, compared to Ben's resume, would you compare? Is it a fair comparison to compare Ben Simmons to LeBron James right now?
No, not at all. I don't think so, because LeBron has everything, and Ben can go to the hole. He can do this, but he's not LeBron. LeBron is just a better player all around, I think. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing. That's the thing too. It's just that comparing like Ben to LeBron is a little bit too much, because it's just like he hasn't done much. I mean, maybe if he would have shot the basketball more and more, he probably would have been like, like in like LeBron like categories. But yeah, but like I said, Ben doesn't know how to shoot a damn basketball. I mean, it's hard to compare him to LeBron. I mean, LeBron does shoot the basketball instead of Ben. So it's not. I mean, Ben's good a defender. Maybe you could compare him to LeBron, but not as an offensive shooter.
I agree with that, James. Go ahead, Jeff.
So I'm going to touch on what Fred Burns is saying in this comment, and then I'm going to go into what you asked. So Fred, Zion shot, but he didn't shoot well, and he didn't shoot very often. Most of his points came in the paint. He went to the paint every time because he could. JoJo got into foul trouble early, so they knew that with Steven Adams was clearing the lane and Zion was going right down it. And JoJo wasn't going to get cheap fouls. He got one cheap foul on Zion, and he was upset about it. But to touch on what you're saying about the LeBron-Ben thing, I think it's a mental thing. You can't compare them. It's not a fair comparison, only because LeBron does more offensively. And LeBron, James touched on it with the shooting. I think Ben can shoot. I just think it's a mental thing. I have said this for about the last 2 or 3 years. Ben can shoot. It's just mentally he doesn't think he should. And I think there's a big difference when you have that killer instinct that if you are capable of shooting, being able to pull the trigger whenever you feel like you can or want to. LeBron can go down the court and shoot a 3 whenever he wants to, because he has the confidence and the mental ability that he's going to make it 90% of the or 50% of the time or whatever. So that's just my perspective. I think that Ben has to work on a little bit of his mental game more than his physical basketball game. I think. Go ahead. No, go ahead, James.
I agree with what you said about that. I think it's a good example of that. It is mental because it's just like you said, he wants to the thing about probably that's been the headache in his side, rather, is the fact of the matter is that he when he shoots, it's like mentally he's not something mentally he's he needs to get something checked out. It's the same kind of scenario with Carson Wentz. When Wentz was getting bad, it's something bad, and he don't want to admit that it was bad mentally, and that's why he got broken. But I'm not going to say it's going to get to that point, God forbid.
Right.
But it's just I agree with what you said there, Joey. It's I think it's definitely mental.
So when it comes to Simmons, and Dave can attest to this, we're close in age, me, you, and Joe. So if you want to use an example of somebody who if you would want Ben to model the way they play after, use a guy like Allen Iverson, for example. And I read this article the other day where when Allen Iverson was injured. Nowadays, there's time management. Players don't come back until they're I don't want to say they're ready. Obviously, that's what it is. But Allen Iverson. Billy King was on somebody's podcast, and he basically said they had to hide his jersey before games from him. He said there was a game where they locked his jersey in a closet or a safe so he couldn't find it. And then another time they hid his shoes, and he literally was going to ushers and asking them, what size are you? Give me your shoes. That's the kind of mentality I would love to see a player like Ben Simmons have, that scrappy dog. I mean, Dave, I'm sure you remember watching AI growing up. He had that killer instinct, right?
Yes, he did. What killed me was they kept saying he was 6'1". He was not. Allen's not 6'1". First of all,
he's 5'11" and a half.
5'11" and a half, if that. Yes, exactly. But Allen just didn't. I mean, there was nothing that got in his way. I mean, he just went to the hole. He did what he had to do. See, Ben doesn't have that.
Well, we're losing you. We're losing you a little bit there, Dave.
That.
We're losing you a little bit on the connection there.
I see.
But
I think when Ben goes to the hole, he dishes out. He's got.
All right, Dave. We muted your mic for a second there, brother. We were losing you for a little bit. Give me 1 second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're breaking up. We'll give you a second there to try and work on your connection. Joe, to kind of touch on what I was saying about could you imagine Ben Simmons with the mindset of Allen Iverson?
I think the part that worries me about the mindset of Allen Iverson is I don't want Ben taking all the shots that Allen Iverson would take. I think Joel Embiid is the Batman.
I guess that would fall under his mindset.
Yeah,
that would fall under his mindset.
I wouldn't want Ben to start thinking I gotta shoot 40 times or 30 some times. I would rather Ben know. I think Ben knows his role, and I think some people criticize and scrutinize him, but he wants to be more of the team distributor. He wants to get everyone involved. But like I said earlier, Seth Curry was 0 for 7. Tobias was the team leader in points, but the points are all over the place. And when you have this team, when Seth Curry's shooting lights out, Danny Green is leading the league in corner threes. That's not just Danny Green. That is Ben Simmons setting him up for those corner threes and being able to give him a good eye to nailing those things. So in order to change Ben's perspective to be more like Allen, he would pass up, no pun intended, pass up giving up the ball to a Danny Green and would take more shots. Now, who knows? Allen was a better shooter in my mind, than Ben is.
Oh, of course.
So
yeah, I agree with what you said there, Joey, because it's just that I think the one thing that Ben didn't have last year, and he had to do it all himself, was like somebody like a Danny Green or even like a Steph Curry to help him like pass it out. I mean, I'm really glad he's getting the assist though and all that, but sometimes it kind of irks me. It's just like when it's an open scene, like he's like going to the hoop and he chickens out in the last minute and he goes and he says, "I'd rather just pass it." And I think for sure that's probably the one flaw in his game that he has to work on. But like I said, he's been in the league for 5 years now. So if he doesn't learn how to shoot, I don't think he ever will. But I mean, look, the thing about it too, he's got players around him that are like caliber shooters around him. Like he didn't have like he probably had that like back in 2018 with Marco Bellinelli and JJ Redick and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I think if you give Ben Simmons, if Ben Simmons has to get rid of that mental block, maybe it will be a good sign that he can be a great player. But like I said, you know what I mean?
I mean, so I'm going to bring something up because I looked up something the other day because I was very curious to know whether I had a good enough argument in this sense. Does anyone disagree that John Stockton – I mean, I'm pretty sure he already is, but does anybody disagree that John Stockton is one of the best point guards that ever played the game?
I think he's up there.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay. John Stockton didn't average more than 20 points a game, but he had more assists because he conveyed more he shared the ball more. I feel like at the end of Ben's career, he will look more like a John Stockton than an Allen Iverson or LeBron James. He might look more like a John Stockton or a Jason Kidd than what people want him to be. People are putting him into this cookie cutter, and they want him to be LeBron. They want him to be Jordan. Everyone's looking for – when Jordan was towards the end, everyone was looking for the next Jordan. We heard LeBron is the next Jordan. We heard Kobe is the next Jordan. I think now we're looking for the next LeBron. And right. Ben is, Giannis has probably been called the next LeBron. And Ben's probably being called the next LeBron. And I feel like that's where we're trying to put Ben. And it makes me a little uncomfortable to have people criticize and scrutinize a guy who's still a team player and is helping his team win games. It frustrates me because, like, I look at like a John Stockton and no one would trash John Stockton. No,
Joey. I wanted to cut in before I lost track of this. It's to go right with your point. John Stockton over his career averaged 13.1 points per game. If that's not a Ben Simmons stat line right now,
right?
You know what I mean? For an average, yes, that's to go with your point. Even Willie Guns agrees with your point. He said, "Good point, Joe." And it is. It's at the end of his career. I think we lost Dave. I think his connection was bad.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. Hopefully he gets back on. But wow, that's Joe. That's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
And I don't throw out credit for stuff like that unless you earn it, man. That's a really good. He may actually end up his career with more of a John Stockton stat line than a stat line of a LeBron or someone of that ilk.
And why would that be a bad thing? I mean, like, that's just my point. Like, Joel Embiid, I've said this from day one. Joel's the Batman, Ben is the Robin. So, here's the thing is I just feel like Ben is going more in the direction of being a guy like John Stockton rather than a guy that's going to sit there and light up the scoreboard with how many points he drops.
So
I can't say he can't do it. I'm just saying.
Right. Big Al checks in on the text board and says, after hearing Marks talk about Ben Simmons, I want to hear about his thoughts on Claude Giroux. No, you don't, Al, and you know you don't. Because you already know his thoughts on Claude Giroux. Look at you trying to start trouble.
We've been there, done there, Al. It's water under the bridge now.
You know it. Look, The Flyers. I'm sorry, the dumpster fire that are the Philadelphia Flyers right now. Like they can't do anything right. Let me hit you with a question here, Joey. Is anybody here still expecting Ben Simmons to shoot the ball? James, are you still expecting at some point Ben Simmons is going to shoot the ball?
I mean, it's been going on for like quite a while, and the people that want to tell him that he has to shoot the basketball, it's like, he's what he is, you know. It's like you're basically preaching to the choir, you know. It's like you're like okay, Ben Simmons don't know how to shoot. Okay, all right, like is Ben's going to shoot tonight? Is Ben going to shoot tonight? Ben going to shoot tonight? It's like it gives me a fucking headache, man. It's just like, dude, at the same time, I'm like, dude, I don't care if he ever shoots, you know? Because it's like, if he ever shoots, here's the thing. Every time I say I give up, he starts to shoot the fucking basketball. And it's like, oh, okay. It's like, I don't know, man. I'm just tired of it. Look, Ben's who he is. That's all I got to say.
Listen, this is a guy who, in my opinion, can shoot it, just chooses not to. But will Ben choose to shoot? Every player, I've heard this from almost a lot of players that have gone up in age that were all-stars for the majority of their career. And LeBron's one of them. You have to – eventually you're going to have to get into a point where you do shoot the ball because your body takes on too much wear and tear to go to the hole when you're older. That's why LeBron shoots more now because his body is just hurting from all the years that he drove to the hole and got dinged up and whatnot. So, yeah, my feeling is Ben's going to have to learn how to shoot because if he wants to stay around and be relevant still in this this league, he's going to have to understand that shooting has to come at some point because your body's not going to hold up.
Right, absolutely. We got Dave back. That's awesome.
Can you hear me?
Joe, you still you still got some Sixers questions you want to throw our way?
Yeah. So Joel Embiid last night and the last couple of games has been kind of going back reverting a little bit back to him shooting threes. Do you guys feel like that him relying on the three again instead of just taking it to the hole like he was doing for a while? You guys think him relying on the threes too much is a bad thing?
Go ahead, Dave. I'll let you field that one.
That's his game, though. That's what he does. No, I don't think it's a bad thing. I really don't. I think if he can make the 30% of the time and it's going to help, I'm good with it, really.
James, how about you?
I'm sorry. What was the question again? I just
is Joel Embiid shooting too many threes, relying on his three again? Is that a bad thing for this team? Is it bad for him to do?
I don't think it's bad. Come clutch time, I think it's probably when if he let's say for example if the team is down 3. That's good to know if he's clutching the 3, obviously. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing.
No, I don't mind, and me personally, I don't mind when JoJo takes shots like that. He has the confidence, even at a 30% clip. If he's up at the top, he's either wide open because the big man on the opposing team is down low, or he's being guarded and it opens the lane to kick it to a Ben, to kick it to somebody who can finish at the rim. So I don't mind that he takes those shots now.
So I'm going to go into this, and I hope Dave gets back because this is part of what he was saying earlier. The East is a 2-horse race, it seems like right now. The Sixers and the Nets. The Bucks are 3 games back of us, and we're 1 game back of the Nets. Do you believe that it's going to matter when it comes closer to playoff time who gets the number 1 and who gets the number 2 seed in the East?
Matter how, in what context?
Matter as far as success going forward in the playoffs. Like, is it going to matter if we're the 2 seed? Does that give us a harder situations, more difficult situations? Do you think we're going to struggle in the playoffs if we're the 2 seed versus being the 1 seed?
I don't think it would make as much difference this year as it has in years past. I feel like the Sixers really, Milwaukee a little bit, but obviously Brooklyn is our biggest competitor, team that we're worried about in the East. So me personally, I don't think as much this year it will matter as it has in years past.
So, Dave, I'm going to address the question to you. It's something you touched on earlier. So it seems like the East is a 2-horse race between the Sixers and the Nets at this point. The Bucks are a close third with 3 games back of the Sixers. But do you think going forward with the success of what can happen in the playoffs, do you think it's going to matter if the Sixers are the 1 seed or the 2 seed in the East? I don't know if we have audio.
No, his audio's up.
Okay.
So sometimes it's a rough one, Dave. Sometimes this online stuff, man. We'll keep working on it though.
Okay.
Joe, so Freddie Burns writes in, John Stockton averaged 9 attempts per game and shot 38% from 3, averaging 1.5 attempts per game. Ben is not John Stockton, totally different game. Joe Marks, your rebuttal.
Not totally different game because Ben.
Rather than be the 1 seed, to be honest with you.
Oh, there's Dave's audio coming in.
I think they'll have a better chance to go farther if they're 1 and 2.
Okay.
Sorry, Joey. Go ahead.
No problem. So my point is, it's a different game because it was a different era, but it's not that different. I mean, if you look at what Ben's no, he's not putting up 1.5 attempts from 3-pointer a game. You're right on that. But look at what Ben's doing as far as assists. Don't just. I mean, I'm sorry, Fred, but you're taking my argument and putting it in a microscope. I'm not just talking about the points or the attempts or the shooting. I'm talking about the overall game of what John Stockton brings to the table and what Ben brings to the table. John Stockton was the Robin to Karl Malone, who was the Batman at that time. And so my point is that if we consider John Stockton one of the top point guards to ever have played the game, then why can't – and Ben's career could end up like that. Why are we sitting here trying to say, well, Ben's not good enough? If Ben is going to go down that lane, then I think then that's good enough. If he goes down the lane of a Jason Kidd or a John Stockton, and I'm not the only one who said that Ben could go down the Jason Kidd kind of route. I just don't understand why people are trying to put him in this cookie cutter. We need to have this guy scoring. So we want Embiid scoring 35 a game, and we want Ben scoring 35 a game. Like,
can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we got you.
On him. It's just a tough deal, Dave, but we got you.
Yeah, sometimes if you're not hardwired in, if you're going across Wi-Fi, sometimes it presents some clarity issues, I guess you could say. So no big deal though.
I had that same issue back in the basement.
Yeah. James is coming up in the world now, though. James, no delay anymore, James. That's awesome.
I appreciate it.
Like Joe, of course, to kind of touch on what you're saying here, yeah, I would love to have JoJo dropping 35 a night and Ben dropping 35 a night. I feel if Ben Simmons ends up like a Stockton or a Kidd, he wasted his career.
But why? Why?
Because he has the potential to be so much more.
But being a Hall of Famer is not good enough? He's a point guard. Ben is a point guard. He may look like a power forward, but he's a point guard.
Right.
I mean, that's the position he plays. So I named 2 pretty much Hall of Fame point guards, and you're telling me that if he doesn't live up to those guys' numbers, then it's a waste of talent? I mean,
yeah, because of his skill set and his size, he brings a different dynamic to the table. John Stockton, obviously shorter than Jason Kidd. I think Jason Kidd was like 6'4".
Yeah.
But with a 6'10" frame and 240, 50, 60 pounds, whatever Ben's weighing in at. Now, thank you, Willie Guns. I'm 100% correct. I don't even know if that's possible, but I appreciate it. With Ben's size and his frame, to not, and Stockton played in a different era, and so did Kidd.
Yeah.
But with his size and his frame, he should be finishing at the rim all the time. And if he's finishing at the rim all the time, then he doesn't have to take as many shots as we're asking. But you don't think that a guy that size, when usually he's going to be keyed up on by power forwards defensively, because you're not going to be guarded by point guards. So athletically, Ben's crushing 90% of the power forwards in the league. Why wouldn't he put up numbers that at the end of his career would be higher than a Stockton and a Kidd's if he plays the way like you? I understand what you were saying by trying to fit him inside a box, and I do kind of agree with that, and I do kind of understand your point. I am trying to put him in a box a little bit. But if I go ahead, James, I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying basically like you said, like basically what you said, Tommy, and I agree with that too. It's just that like Ben is like in a box, and the thing about it too, he can be great, but I think the one flaw in his game is that John Stockton has great numbers. I'm not saying like John Stockton is like the greatest of all time, but at the same time, I think Ben has to find a way that, like I said in the beginning of the show, is like the one flaw in his game. He has to find a way to shoot the damn basketball to become like you said, if he's like a Hall of Famer, Joey, or even like a, you know what I mean? So
all right, so Fred checks in on the text board. Fred, I do appreciate the back and forth about this today, because I definitely look to you when it comes to Sixers knowledge. And Fred says that he is Team Ben for the record. Ben doesn't need to score 20 a game, but he has to put the ball in the net at the rim. Now, he doesn't have to score 35 a game. He has to attack the rim when wide open. That's one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to Ben Simmons is I feel like his lack of aggression and attacking. And I don't know if you can't teach aggression, right? That's something that I feel like that's something that you're born with.
Well, I would say he's being more aggressive as he's attacking the hoop. I agree with Fred, though, in this way. He gets to the hoop, and like I said earlier, he doesn't finish.
Right.
Like, you're 6'10". You just said it. You're 6'10". You're bigger than half the guys on the court, more than half the guys on the court. Just don't – I remember growing up watching guys, and they used to call this being posterized. Posterize fools. Make fat heads of you posterizing whoever. Like, I don't care. Like, dude, you should own whoever dares get in your way. But right. Ben has to put that – we go back to the mental game. Ben has to put it in his mind that he's not going to care who he dunks on. You're not here to make friends. You're here to win games. You can sit there and – I've seen documentaries where – Dominique Wilkins dunked on certain guys and would laugh going back up the court on defense and laugh, and then they would shake hands at the end of the game. Listen, this is a game where you have to play the highest competitors win games. If Ben doesn't take the opportunities that he goes to the hole and finishes it, then you're playing at a lower competitive level than everyone else.
Right, and I'd just like to say for the record, this is like the third time today that someone's agreed with me on the text board. I got Willie Guns agreeing with me. I got Freddie Burns agreeing with me. So I'm feeling good.
I never said that he shouldn't attack the rim. And
no, I don't.
If people have been watching, in the beginning of the season, Ben was so passe, he wasn't attacking the rim at all. Lately, he's been doing a little bit better, but he hasn't been finishing. There's a difference between you're doing something, but you're not completing the task. You get all the way there, and you're like, okay, I'm going to pass it off. Like, no, stop. You are a monster. You just need to get that killer in. Like, JoJo has that killer instinct. He will dunk on people. Like, Dwight Howard has that killer instinct. Ben needs to have that killer instinct.
So James, I'm actually about to cue you in here because I wanted to touch on something. First off, good morning, Joe Stinger from Florida on Facebook checking in. Appreciate it.
This isn't Joseph Stinger from Newman, is it?
I don't know.
Hey, I don't know, Mr. Stinger.
But so to touch on things that I've heard James say about Ben, I know James, it like pisses you off that Ben is wasting his potential, right? We've had many shows where I've seen you drop F-bombs and getting real fired up. You still along? No, Joe, he is not the Joe Stinger from Newman.
Okay.
Do you still feel that strongly, that passionately that Ben is just wasting what he has?
It's like it's been like going on for 5 years now. It's just like, okay, you get 1 year, you gotta get your bearings, you gotta get everything right. But this shit's been going on for like I said, for 5 years. I mean, it's one thing that you're coming off an injury and you got to recover. I mean, let's say for example he has a big serious knee injury and he just can't go to the hoop that often. Okay, understandable. But now it's like, okay, when you're going to the hoop and you pass it off, I'm like, okay, do yourself a favor. Next time, like, at least be consistent. I don't see
finish.
Just
finish it.
I mean, the only thing I see in his game is not a point guard, but I see as a passing guard more than anything, and it drives me nuts.
Dave, how's your connection? You back? Wi-Fi's rough, Dave. It is.
But here's the thing: is I will understand that Ben needs to pass, and everyone is making valid point. But at the same time, I just want to be clear: I'm not saying that Ben. I'm saying that Ben has to finish when he gets that close to the hoop. When you get to within 5 feet of the hoop, you should finish. And if you feel like, someone's going to block you or you're going to get a charge, I would leave it in the hands of the officials. Let them make the tough call.
Here's another good example. Look at this as like a Flyers power play. They keep on passing it, and then one of the times the fans are yelling, "Shoot!" That's the thing I say to myself is every time I'm like watching a Flyers game, and they'll put the puck in the fucking net, and then out of nowhere they fucking. I'm sorry, I'm going crazy.
I love it, James. Keep it up.
What I'm saying is just that, like when they pass the puck and they don't even shoot, it's like, dude, thank you, Will. Shoot the damn ball. Thank you. I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, I did it for 2 years, and I'm better than Ben.
Dave, you back? Still on a delay.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
You're on. It's better. You're still on a little bit of a delay, but it's better.
And James, just as a correction, Ben has only played 4 seasons, not 5.
Oh,
well, he's been here 5 years. He's only played 4 seasons. He missed a year with the foot injury.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, but I'm saying he's going into his 5th year.
Can you hear me?
Right. Yeah.
We can, Dave. It's just it's still on a delay, brother.
But so.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. So do you guys think that switching gears to Embiid versus Ben, let's go from Robin to Batman. Do you guys think that Embiid at this point in time is still MVP material?
Yeah, I think I had a similar question. Mine is basically JoJo struggled last night, only scoring a couple of points in the second half. Off night or lingering injuries? ? So I personally think it was an off night. It happens sometimes, even Jordan had off nights, LeBron has off nights. They still get theirs, but no, I'm not, as far as MVP, I believe he's still up there as a top candidate.
I mean, here's the thing is I feel like it was an off night, but I also feel like him not being at home doesn't help, because if you have an off night, sometimes the home crowd can pick you back up, and him being away, it's just when you have an off night, you just feel deflated.
In this town, though, in this town, an off night could lead to a lot of boo birds out there in the stands in this town.
And that could be all about that.
Yeah, that could be psychologically damaging to a star athlete if you don't have the mental makeup. However, when it comes to Joel Embiid, I do believe he has the mental makeup to be on the other side of any kind of boo birds, and people would be less likely to give it to him than they would to Ben. James, what do you think?
I would say the thing I look at it is that if Joel Embiid is like a dynamic duo, like a Kobe Bryant, at least Ben Simmons be like Derek Fisher or fucking like, you know what I mean? I mean, you don't have to be too. I'm not asking for too much. I mean, just the passive aggressiveness. It's just like, dude. I mean, you've been doing this, like I said, like I was going to say 5 years ago, but like 4 years. But going into his 5th year, I mean, isn't it concerning that he hasn't shot in the basketball consistently? I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah, to me it is. To me, it's concerning.
You know what I mean?
So, I mean, here's the thing. If Embiid is still the MVP candidate, and this going forward is the process that he goes through, no pun intended again, but do you think that he will get the award by like a landslide, or do you feel like he'll get the award due to his team play along with Ben Simmons? I mean, here's the thing. They have to get back their chemistry, and I think that's part of the reason why there's a struggle right now. That with the injury and him coming back into it, yes, of course, Joel is getting his legs back under him. And in the Celtics game, I noticed that, and I said this ahead of it, that Joel would be on a minutes restriction, and he was. He may not have been purposely or intendedly on a minutes restriction, but Doc's going to protect his big guy.
Right.
Now we're going into the situation of a long stretch of the season. If Embiid's going to have an MVP season, Ben has to be that supporting cog that helps him too.
Right, yeah. Right. Joe Stinger's checking in on Facebook saying, do you think Embiid's injuries will keep him from the MVP?
I think,
as of right now, I'm sorry, Joey. As of right now, no, I don't think so. It doesn't appear to have set him back too much. Like I said, I think last night was just one of those games. We bring Dave back in. Dave, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. It's on a little bit of a delay. Look, and don't worry too much about it, Dave. We'll be back in studio next week, and I would love for you to come in studio. So if we don't get into some of the questions we were going to line up today and things like that, because sometimes connection's rough, especially with everybody and their grandmom using Wi-Fi nowadays. If you're not doing anything next Saturday, I would love to have you in studio too. So when it comes to all of these things, all this talk and all this MVP talk with JoJo, I really believed when this whole thing went down, when we got both of these guys and they started playing on a regular basis, that Ben would
absolutely. Thank you very much.
That Ben would evolve into the MVP candidate. And JoJo being the big man would be a solid big man, and it's been the opposite. And I think that's what frustrates a lot of us so much is, we would love to see Ben being considered an MVP candidate with his skill set and his size, and we just haven't seen it.
Right. And I still feel like Ben, I mean, we have 3 players on this team that are in the top 10 for defense, for steals. You have Ben Simmons, Thibault, and Danny Green. I mean, so, Dave mentioned it earlier that, like, Ben's defense is second to none. And so we can all accept that. But I will kind of go on to what you were saying earlier, Tom, and that's that maybe the expectation is if you can play that well on defense, maybe you can raise your level of how well you play on offense. Which I understand, I get. But that's all the questions I have for the Sixers, Tom. But
I'm going to hit James up with another Sixers question. I think we just might stay Sixers for the duration of the show here.
I mean, there's nothing going on with the Phillies. I mean, they lost last night, so
yeah, no, it's all right. Some days the direction that the conversation takes us, you stay on one team the whole show. Some days you talk about 16 different things. But James. So Doc Rivers comes in here, and I don't want to say that he's flown under the radar or he hasn't been getting the accolades for the season that the team is having under him. Oh, Freddie Burns just came in on the text board. It's a funny one. I'll hit it in a minute. But what do you think Doc Rivers is doing that's getting this team to play the way they've been playing, with the exception of last night's game? Zion went off. If Zion doesn't go off, the game probably would have a different outcome and a different look to it. But what do you think that Doc is doing? Is he inside the ear of JoJo, gassing him up? Is it the fact that him and Tobias work together in LA and he's getting literally the absolute best out of Tobias? What do you think Doc is really? What do you really think he's doing that's kind of changing the dynamic of this team, James?
I think the one thing I can draw the comparison is like the 2017 Eagles. They're just having fun, man. I think that's what it is. They're just having a lot of fun, and they're having a lot of fun.
Dave, you see that? My man Freddie Burns checks in and says, Dallas sucks, and apparently so does their fans' Wi-Fi. I got my wife laughing at that one. That's all right, though. We're going to get, Fred, I can vouch for Dave. The man's legit.
Oh, man.
I understand the rivalry.
They haven't won a champion. They haven't been to the playoffs.
He has Wi-Fi from the last time Dallas won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were going to razz you a little bit, Dave. Oh.
Welcome to being on the Philadelphia podcast, brother.
I saw it.
He's still on broadband, Tom.
My God. That's funny. I'm glad you have a good sense of humor, too, Dave. I really do appreciate it. And it sucks because, we can hear you, but you'll say something, and then, 30 seconds later, it's really slow, and it comes in, and I'm like, oh, man. So if you see me mute your mic, it's just because we're already on to something else, and then your comments coming in from the back end, so...
You're a great sport, Dave. You are a really great sport.
You're a phenomenal sport, and we really do appreciate you coming on, even if your Wi-Fi sucks like the Cowboys do.
Let me finish my point.
Sorry, James. Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. This was the highlight of my day. Anyway, no, I was saying basically, Doc Rivers is probably telling them, have that same kind of level of commitment, like what Doug Peterson was with the Eagles back in 2017, and they're just having fun, I mean, I think I think we're good now. Shit.
Go, James.
No, I'll just say the last thing I would say about the whole.
Sorry about that. I meant to mute.
Okay. Okay. No. I was just saying was that they're just having fun, coaching them. And the other thing too about it too is that the thing about it too, I'm having fun with watching them, and I'm not a big Sixers guy. I mean, I watch them. I mean, I watch them every night, but it's just that there's something about this team. It's just it's they have fun. They love being Doc Rivers being their coach. I actually love being Doc Rivers being their coach. And that's the thing. I think that's the big thing that makes it even great is that with Brett Brown, it was just it's just this and that, this and all that. But I'm like, yeah, I think they're just having fun while they can with them. And I think the one thing is though too that the Flyers don't have with that, and I know we didn't talk about it all day, is that AV doesn't get that because he had it last year and then it just disappeared like a Houdini magic trick, And so yeah, I mean that fast to change in an instant. But I don't see that happening with the Sixers, and I think they'll be great for a very long time.
I mean, here's the thing: is I think Doc. So I think Brett Brown was a leader of boys to men. Like he took boys and created men. But I think Doc teaches those men how to become superstars. And I think when you guys had Bob Cooney on, I listened to one thing Bob said, and he said that the first thing that Doc said when he met Joel Embiid is face the basket. Why are you putting your back to the basket? Why are you putting the play behind you? Look at the person. No one can take you. And you know,
role model for him too.
Right. So this is Doc, day 1, point 1, teaching these guys how to be better players. And Brett Brown was a guy who said, okay, we're going to go through hard times. We're going to go through struggles. We're going to go through injuries. We're going to go through all this. I don't want to say coddled, but he took those guys and kept them together.
Right.
And, you know, that takes a lot. I mean, it may not be like a teacher like Doc is. It's a different personality. And, Tom, I'll give you credit because you said that Brett Brown is one type of coach and we need a whole other type of coach. And you're absolutely right, looking back now at what Doc's doing to this team, with this team, that he's teaching them and guiding them. Like, Van Gundy is the Pelicans coach. You got 2 veteran coaches that are taking these young, thriving teams and teaching them the fundamentals of the game that not many coaches can be able to teach them. We always talk about younger coaches. Like, why aren't the younger coaches getting a shot? Because younger coaches don't have that experience. We talk about Nick Sirianni with the Eagles. My concern about Nick Sirianni, you don't have enough experience that with a guy like Jalen Hurts, are you going to be able to give him guidance to accelerate his game to where it needs to be?
Right.
Maybe Nick Sirianni is the Brett Brown for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Good point. Good point. That's an interesting thought, man.
Yeah, you know, time will tell with that one.
Right.
I mean, Brett made it like he outlasted the whole process. Made it through. Everybody thought that he was going to get cut year 3, 4, but he made it through the whole process. Mm-hmm. But it was like they just stonewalled at a certain point. And I don't know if it was a relationship with Ben that he couldn't push Ben to get any more out of it.
Well, I don't think he was a teacher. I don't think he could push their skill set higher. And I think Doc did. I think Doc unlocked a lot of that hidden potential in both Embiid and Ben. And then you got to think with Morey coming over, Doc basically said to Morey, get me shooters. And Morey's like, okay, no problem. I'm like, all right, shopping list, Danny Green, Seth Curry. What else do you want? Okay, we can re-sign Mike Scott for cheap. Okay. How about a nice big guy that can give him spell Embiid for a good time? Okay, how about Dwight Howard?
Right.
He just won a championship. Why not him? Sure. Like, Doc's like, okay, thank you. And he takes it to another level. I mean, think about this. I mean, Shake's kind of gone off a little bit off the rails, but what Doc does with not just the starting 5, but Doc has been known for that 6th man, building up that guy, that cornerstone on the bench. You need to have depth when you go into the – I mean, ask LeBron and AD and the Lakers. They know all about the lack of depth.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, we're probably going to end it there, Dave. We had some Eagles-Cowboys questions lined up, but unfortunately with connectivity issues, and I want to get to all of them, like, legitimately. So if you'd be willing, man, we'll have you in studio next week so I can pepper you with some good Cowboys-Eagles fan questions. But with that said, let me kind of run through again just some of our sponsors and some of the stuff before we sign off, as in fantees.com. Use the promo code EdgeOfPhilly and get 20% off your entire order at fantees.com. And to go along with that shirt, maybe you pick yourself up an Edge of Philly hat. They come in 4 colors, green and cream, black and white, charcoal and red, and charcoal and orange. Some of the shows on the network. Can't forget my guys, Kyle and Eric over at Bird's IQ. They're on Sundays at 7 p.m. The Broad Street Bullies podcast with Drew, Doyle, and Jeff. They bring the laugh and the knowledge, and God knows we need some laughs in Fires country right now. They're on Sunday nights at 8 o'clock. Philly Press Box Radio, my guys, 2 of my favorites, Jimmy, Chet, Chesko, and Bill Furman. They're on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. The Big Show, Edge of Philly Sports Show with Big Al, Joe Sheeran, Freddie Burns. They're on Wednesday nights at 9:30. And then my guys over at Lax Philly, Kevin and Gary. They do have some live shows that'll be coming out soon. When we find that out, we'll get that information over to you guys. But they have tons of articles on the EOP website. Go check it out. And while you're on the website, they're on the newsletter. While you're on the website, sign up for the newsletter. A little box will pop up to tell you how. There we go. So with that said, kind of closing out the show here. Dave, I want to thank you for coming on. I know you had some connectivity issues, and I understand that. I really appreciate it. You trying to work through it. But we're going to sign off. We'll catch you guys next week. We'll be back in studio. But for Joe Marks, for James Scorza, for Dave Yarnell, I'm Tom Kelly, and this is the Pattison Ave Phanatics Show, and we're out of here.
Later.